Ambassador Thexrel stood before the Galactic Council's emergency session, his chitinous plates rattling with barely contained desperation. The Grand Chamber, once filled with hundreds of proud species, now held only 17 delegates. The rest were gone, consumed, converted, or hiding in the dark corners of space. "We were wrong," Thexrel's translator crackled. "By the ancestors, we were so terribly wrong." 12 cycles ago, the Council had been unanimous. Humanity was too volatile, too aggressive, too dangerous to remain among civilized species. The vote had been 847 to 1, with only Earth's ambassador dissenting. The humans had built weapons when others built gardens. They spoke of war when others discussed philosophy. They carried guns to diplomatic functions and told stories of their own extinction-level conflicts with disturbing pride. "Your species is a cancer," High Arbiter Velshara had declared, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into rainbow judgments. "You celebrate violence. You weaponize everything you touch. You are not fit for the stars." The human ambassador, a scarred woman named Chen, had stood silently as the sentence was read. Humanity would be quarantined to their home system. Any human vessel crossing the boundary would be destroyed. Any transmission would be blocked. Earth would become a galactic ghost, erased from civilization. Chen had smiled, a predatory expression that made several delegates uncomfortable. "You're making a mistake," she had said quietly. "We're not the monsters you think we are. We're the monsters you need." The Council had ignored her warning. 3 cycles later, the Scourge arrived from dark space. They came in vessels of twisted geometry, beings of pure malevolence that consumed entire worlds for sustenance. The Zithkar, the galaxy's greatest warriors, had sent their legendary battle fleet to meet them. 4,000 ships, each capable of cracking planets. The fleet lasted 18 minutes. The Scourge didn't negotiate. They didn't demand. They simply consumed, converting living beings into more of themselves, turning thriving worlds into lifeless husks. They spread like cancer through the galactic arm, and nothing could stop them. The Council had tried everything. The Talarathi had deployed their reality-warping technology. The Scourge adapted in hours. The Methros used their famous plague. Weapons. The Scourge assimilated the bioweapons and made them stronger. The Cathari suicide-bombed their own colonies to deny the enemy resources. The Scourge fed on the radiation. In desperation, the Council had even attempted diplomacy. The Scourge's only response was to consume the peace delegation. Now, standing before the remnants of galactic civilization, Thexrel voiced what everyone was thinking. "We need the humans." Velshara, dimmed and cracked from the stress of losing half her species, spoke with a voice like breaking glass. "The quarantine field is absolute. We designed it to be unbreakable specifically to contain them." "Then we break it from our side," Thexrel insisted. "We built it. We can dismantle it." "And if they refuse to help?" someone asked. "We exiled them, threatened to destroy them. Why would they save us?" Thexrel pulled up a holographic display. It showed intercepted human transmissions from within their quarantine. While the galaxy burned, humanity had been busy. They had militarized every rock in their system, built weapons that made their previous arsenal look like toys, and trained every citizen in warfare. They had turned their prison into an impregnable fortress. But there was more. The transmissions also showed humans gathering in massive assemblies, watching news feeds of the galactic crisis. There were protests in the streets, humans demanding their government help, demanding they break quarantine and fight, even knowing they might be destroyed for trying. "Because that's what humans do," Thexrel said, his voice filled with something between awe and shame. "We called them warlike. We called them violent. But we never understood. They don't love war. They love protecting those who can't protect themselves, even those who cast them out." The Council voted, unanimous this time. The quarantine came down in a cascade of failing force fields. For 3 days, there was silence from Earth. Then, the transmissions began. "This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet. We're reading you, Council. Send coordinates of Scourge positions. were coming. They came like an ancient earth storm, fast, loud, and absolutely devastating. Human ships weren't elegant like the Talrathi vessels or massive like the Zithkar dreadnoughts. They were brutal, practical, and covered in weapons that would have been banned by a dozen conventions humanity had never signed. The first engagement lasted 3 hours. Humanity lost 46 ships. The Scourge lost an entire invasion fleet. Humans fought like no species the galaxy had ever seen. They rammed Scourge vessels when ammunition ran low. They set their own ships to self-destruct, laughing over open channels as they took enemy formations with them. They sang battle songs, older than spaceflight itself, and called tactics from wars the Council thought were barbaric mythology. But more than that, humans adapted. After every battle, they studied Scourge remains, learned their weaknesses, and modified their tactics. They shared information freely with surviving Council species, teaching them how to fight, not as civilized beings trying to minimize casualties, but as survivors fighting for existence. It took 4 cycles of brutal warfare, but humanity drove the Scourge back to the dark space they'd emerged from, and then, against all advice, followed them in to make sure they never returned. When Admiral Chen returned, her fleet reduced. To a quarter of its original size, she found a galaxy transformed. The Council had dissolved itself, reorganizing into something new, something that placed defense alongside philosophy, strength alongside wisdom. Velshara met her at the rebuilt Council station. "We owe you an apology, and a debt we can never repay." Chen looked at the crystalline being with tired but understanding eyes. "You don't owe us anything. You just needed to remember something humanity learned a long time ago. Peace isn't the absence of capacity for violence. It's the choice not to use it except when necessary." She smiled, gentler this time. "We were never your monsters. We were always your guardians. You just had to learn to see the difference." As humanity took its place not as outcasts, but as protectors in the new galactic order, one truth became crystal clear to every species. Sometimes the greatest mercy is found in those willing to be merciless when mercy fails.